All right, friends of the DevOps persuasion, welcome back. My name is Joep Iskaag, and we're here at Devopsdays Amsterdam online, and I'm joined here by Rushil. And the first thing I want to talk about is this awesome T-shirt. Tell
Yeah.
us what's up.
Yeah. So it says DevOps burnout is real, and it's a kind of real thing that DevOps do get burned out. I got this from another event at KubeCon,
Mhm.
and I thought that yeah, it makes sense to wear a DevOps related shirt at DevOps Days Amsterdam, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get it. And honestly, it is a perfect setup to talk about why you're here, what you're doing today at DevOps Days in Amsterdam, because today is workshop day. We've done workshops
Yeah.
all day long. Yours is one of them. And I think the topic is just super interesting to me. So kind of give us the lay of the land of what the workshop is, what it's for, why did it got created, what's its purpose?
Yeah, sure. So the title of my talk is how Google runs production and SRE approach. So SRE stands for Service Reliability Engineering, or in the previous days when we had like sites instead of services, it was site reliability engineering. It's still referred to as site reliability engineering in all of the organizations. It talks about reliability, the R in the SRE, and how we can measure reliability, how we can quantify it, how we came up with the different formulas to have achieve a mathematical number that we can look at as an objective reality and try to define that objective. So for example, if I say that my service is 99.99% reliable, that means that the remaining 0.01% is the amount of unreliability that me or my organization is willing to accept,
Right.
and that becomes our error budget, which is used to do any kind of upgrades, updates, bug fixing, scheduled maintenance, or scheduled downtime.
Right.
But all of this comes with a lot of cultural changes in the organization, which I heavily impact on in my talk, and today as well I did that.
Yeah, so tell me a little about that psychological aspect of it, because the way I think about this, and maybe I'm not used to thinking about this way.
Yeah.
This is a purely technical number, right? This is just how much is my service up? What
Yeah,
gives?
yeah, yeah. That's true, and I believe that is one of the confusions that a lot of organizations or some of the people have
Hmm.
when embedding SRE into their organization. So basically, what an SRE does, we need to understand that first. SRE is a programmer, a person who knows how to code, a software developer who also knows and is interested in operations work. So
Right.
operations means like monitoring, logging, fixing infrastructure and stuff like that. So if you ask a software developer to design an operations team and run it, it works really well,
Mhm.
especially in terms of reliability and especially keeping things up to the mark. Now, coming to your question with respect to psychological safety, we have something which is known as the blameless culture
Mhm.
or blameless postmortems. So, what does that mean? Now, even if you hire an SRE, hire the best SRE that is on the market, with the best skills, if the culture of the organization does not allow you to speak up, then the accountability goes away. So, if I want to be accountable, and if any engineer wants to be accountable for their actions, they need to have this breathing space where they can think and they can speak up that yes, I did this change, I made this change. After I made this change, things went down.
Mhm.
The server was down, or maybe I did something, I was just testing something out, but I tested that in a wrong terminal window and ran the command and rebooted the server. If I don't have a culture of blamelessness or a psychologically safe environment, I will take a lot of time in thinking that what will happen to me now. Will I lose my job? Will I not get promoted in the next cycle? Everyone will shame me. I won't be able to, speak to the management, and a lot of time will be lost over there. Instead of focusing on the problem, I will focus on all of the other things which I'm not supposed to. So, if you embed a psychological safe environment, what our aim is to focus on the problem instead of pointing fingers. Like if you did something wrong and I'm like, you, why did you do that? you shouldn't have done it, you have been in this organization for 5 years, don't you even know such a small thing? These are some of the words which engineers or any employee would not want to hear. And that this also gets you into this guilt trip that, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, I'm here for 10 years, 15 years, how can I make this mistake? But it's human nature. We are supposed to make mistakes and then learn from them, and errors are inevitable. This is something that will happen all the time. No matter how good the technology becomes, there will always be things which will be out of your control. Let's say in a few hundred years we are able to harness the energy of our entire planet,
Mhm.
but we can still not control some of the things which comes out of outer space. Maybe a better advanced civilization, we cannot account for that, so we'll always be behind than something or someone. So if we have a psychological safe environment, if I'm able to speak up, yes, I did this wrong, and this is the documentation that we have to follow. There are specific steps in it. I will write down the problems that happened. I'll write down the exact command that I ran which caused this problem, and in the future this is something that we need to take into account so that we avoid something like that from happening. The one thing that we will keep out from such a document is the name of the engineer who did that, because what if someone 10 years from now reads this document? All they need to know is what the problem statement was the what the solution is, and how we can avoid all of this from happening ever again. The name of that person who did that is irrelevant in this scenario. Similarly, the name and the blame culture for that specific engineer is also irrelevant in bringing back a service.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I like to convey in this specific session,
Yeah.
along with all the other technical aspects.
So I like kind of the systems thinking approach to it, because you're not looking at any individual making mistakes. You're looking at the system as a whole, saying, hey, something happened here, and how can we first discover what went wrong and how we can solve it, but also how can we prevent the system as a whole from making that same mistake again. And
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
I think that's a critical aspect of blameless culture, as you mentioned. This is not about individuals. This is not even about teams. This is about organizations,
As
and
a
even
whole, exactly.
as a whole, and even
Exactly.
beyond organizations, because we're all using third-party SaaS APIs. We're using contractors. We're using so many
Exactly.
aspects
That's
that
true.
go beyond the organization. I really like the very broad approach of, this is a system. We have a lot of components. How can we optimize for that? I appreciate that. I like that. So how can people learn more about this workshop, or is there any resource online that you would point people to?
Yeah. So it's most of the resources are freely available online. So if you simply search for the SRE books, these are from Google, and then you can simply go to the official website, sre.google, I believe. Just look it up, just Google it, it's really easy. And you can download all these books. Now, these are irrelevant, I mean, not irrelevant, these are independent of the organization that you work in. Any organization can implement this, and you don't need to specifically be in certain level to understand it. It's really simple to understand. Like, for example, one of the really good things about the resources that are freely available is they also teach you how to respond to incidents.
Right.
Exactly what you can do in order to avoid them from happening in the future, how to record them, how to document each and everything in your register or in your documentation online, anywhere that you like. And you don't have to specifically use any one technology. You can use any open source software that you wish to, because as we discussed earlier, it's more about the culture, right? So I try to make this talk more about the cultural aspect instead of downloading a single app and then learning it throughout and using it. Because if you have such a culture, then learning new things and implementing them is extremely easy.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think you're right on the money there. So any last words, any tips where people may be able to start? What's the biggest recommendation that you would give them?
Yes, so I think this is something that I also started doing myself, is first implement all of that on myself.
Right.
So maybe I was also, because I have been a part of a culture where there was no kind of psychological safety in the past. and I was afraid in speaking up. But then I thought that what if I speak up on certain things, and then discussed it internally within my teams. Then we started, speaking about the things that we didn't like as a group. So when you do that, it's easier to reach the management and the higher ups, and then spread this culture of blamelessness across the organization. Even if it's not possible to implement such a thing, the last tip that I would give you is just change your organization.
Just change. It's so easy, right?
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I want to thank you for delivering the workshop. I've heard good feedback from the audience.
Thanks.
So awesome to have you here. And with that, let's close off our first day of recordings here at DevOps Days Amsterdam online.